Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to cross the Øresund and we're going to go back to Copenhagen in Denmark, one of the best craft beer cities in the world in my opinion, and we're going to revisit a brewery who are doing some very impressive beers at the moment, mainly in the sort of New England hazy style IPA category, but it's been a little while since I reviewed one of those from them. For this review then we are going to go to Gørløse, which is a little bit to the north of the main central part of Copenhagen, and we're having a taste of another beer from Gamma Brewing Company. This one is called the Chelate, and it comes in at 8% ABV, and it's a double New England IPA this time. So really looking forward to trying this one. The last beer that I reviewed from these guys was the Fervent Fervor, which was a big beast of an imperial stout, like a 12%. thing, and it was just a monster, but a beautiful beer. The last IPA that I reviewed from them was the Green Gak, which was really nice. There was also the Guac, the Guap, and there was another beer in there that I had from them. But these guys, like I say, are very impressive when it comes to the sort of hazy New England style IPAs. So if that's a style that you enjoy and you're interested in Danish beers, then Gamma Brewing are one that you definitely want to check out. They've always got some very interesting stuff. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. This must be my 10th or so review involving this brewery, and you will see another one fairly soon after this. This particular beer was released here in Sweden on the 28th of February 2020 through the Små Parties or Tillfälligt Sortiment in Systembolaget, whatever you want to call it, but it should be a really nice one. I've heard very good things about this. So let's see how we get on, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Gamma Brewing Company before. There will definitely be some more in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Danish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, which is quite regularly because I live very close to Denmark and can just jump on the train over. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Gamma Brewing Company then. So Gamma Brewing Company was founded back in 2015 by 4 friends in Copenhagen who were bartenders in the numerous beer bars around the city, and they basically just used to talk about how it would be cool to have their own brewery, and eventually that came to fruition. So they took in another co-owner in the early days, and so the team at the brewery now are Jakob, Anders, Jesper, Koy and Nick, and they all had a little bit of home brewing experience, and 2 of them had also worked in the Ulsnedkeren bar in Copenhagen, and they had purchased the former Stronzo brewery up in Gørløse, which went on to become Ølkollektivet. But apparently they were invited to join Ølkollektivet, and they got a good deal on a 20 hectolitre tank, and so they started up the brewery without having any experience of running their own business. But this went very well for them, though. They've expanded twice and they're now producing around 500 hectolitres of beer per year. They're exporting over to England. I think I've seen their beers in Scotland as well. They're exporting to Germany, the Netherlands, and also some of the beers are being sent over here to Sweden. Now I'm not sure if they are going up to Norway as well, of course, but there are a few more countries where you'll find the Gamma Brewing Company beers as well. And one of the co-owners at the brewery is also a co-owner of the May Ulsnedkeren bar in Aarhus over Aarhus, I think, is over on Øland, if I remember correctly, so over on the mainland part of Denmark, I guess you could say. But Ølkollektivet, as I say, it's a collective brewery in Gørløse, which is kind of to the northwestish, if I remember correctly, of the central part of Copenhagen. It's home to Gamma Brewing, and also Dry and Bitter, who are another very good Danish brewery. Ulsnedkeren also brewed the Bad Seed beers there under contract for a period of time before they got their own brewery, and Ghost and Rooster Brewing also used to brew there, but they've since moved on. So at Ølkollektivet, it's Gamma, Dry and Bitter, and also Ulsnedkeren who are brewing the beers there too. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Gamma Brewing Company for the moment. Like I said, this is a brewery that you definitely need to check out if you're interested in the sort of hazy New England style IPAs. In the early days I also reviewed a beer from them called Hop Sweat, but something happened to the video file, and that was a beautiful West Coast IPA, so I really hope that I can get a hold of that again at some point and review it for you, because that beer was really very nice actually. So yeah, but if you're interested in IPAs, then this is a brewery that you definitely want to check out. I think they're also releasing like a few Berliner Weisses and some sours and things like that these days as well, and Dry and Bitter are doing the same actually. So Dry and Bitter and Gamma are two of the kind of newer generation of Danish breweries that you definitely have to check out. But yeah, as I say, that's all you really need to know about Gamma Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on to the tasting section of this video then. So as I told you at the start of this video, this one is an 8% double IPA. The hops in this one are Idaho 7 and Mosaic, and it's got a malt base of Pilsner, oats, wheat and Carapils malt, so it should be really nice. The name, now this is where I can put my master's degree to good use. So a chelate in chemistry, a chelate is basically a compound that consists of a metal atom, or an ion as it would be, and then you get ligands, which are normally organic molecules that connect to it, and then when you actually make these, this is called chelation, and then the molecule itself is called chelate. So normally you can use these for like heavy metal blood poisoning and things like this. You can use them to treat that. I think in a way hemoglobin and the iron complex that it has, I've got a feeling that that's also a chelate if I remember correctly. But yeah, a chelate is just a metal, basically a metal atom or ion, and you've got organic ligands bonded to it, so basically little organic branch molecules that attach onto it. So yeah, I'm curious as to why they named this beer that, but kind of cool that they've got a chemistry name, because a number of the beers that I've had from these guys before have been named after physics phenomena and stuff like that actually, which is pretty cool. I think the next one that comes out through Systembolaget is called Freakwave or something like that, if I remember correctly, so you will see that one reviewed at some point in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, there you can see, it's obviously a kind of zoomed out image there of all these little model kits. Either that or it's some kind of electron microscope kind of image. I think it probably is an electron microscope image, that, just going by the looks of it, and they've probably coloured it a little bit to represent the different atoms and things. You know, white usually represents hydrogen, red is oxygen, and blue is always nitrogen, if I remember correctly. But yeah, really nice artwork on this one, as you'd always expect from Gamma Brewing Company. And Gamma Brewing, of course, there is their symbol there, and with a name like Gamma, of course we know the gamma ray radiation's very high energy. It is kind of wave themed actually, which is very nice. 440ml can this one. Let's get it out and into the glass and see how we get on. Really curious to see how this particular beer turns out. I've got a feeling this might have been the first Gamma beer to have been released in Sweden, because normally you could buy these beers through Glassbanken, for example, one of the Swedish websites basically have a warehouse over in Copenhagen, and the beer gets put on a truck and brought over the Öresund bridge and then posted by PostNord, from what I understand. Either that, or I think it is just posted from Denmark, because PostNord is a joint ownership thing. It's 1/3 Danish, 2/3 Swedish. So I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but Gamma Brewing were always available, or still are available, here in Sweden through things like Glassbanken and stuff like that, and hot.se. So yeah, but this is the first one to come through Systembolaget as far as I know. So as you can see with this one, if we hold it up to the light, this is one of the darker, more murky looking New England IPAs that I've come across in recent times. You can see that there's a solid 2-finger head on this, and that's fading away gradually. I would say the head on this one is rather creamy rather than perfect white. Small bubbles there down towards the bottom and the centre, but a few bigger bubbles kind of towards the edge. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it does look very Very nice, and pretty much what you would expect from a New England IPA. If I put my fingers behind the glass, there you can see this one is pretty damn hazy, and you know, when you're up at the 8% mark with these New England IPAs, that is exactly what you're going to get. The higher malt content means a higher alcohol, and thus it's a little bit more hazy than some of the little boys. So yeah, looks pretty nice, but definitely leaning towards that kind of peachy pineapple juice part of the colour spectrum when it comes to the New England IPAs. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance, so let's have a look at the aroma. As I said, it's Mosaic and Idaho 7 that's in this one, so there should be some lovely kind of tangerine notes from the Mosaic, and also some kind of like stone fruity and passion fruity notes from the Idaho 7. So let's see how we get on with that. Oh yeah. It's interesting that, because you can really, I think you can really detect the Idaho 7 on this one straight away, because it just has, Idaho 7, I've noticed in the last couple of beers that I've tried that have Idaho 7 in them, it really has this very sharp tropical fruit note to it. It almost comes across as like a little touch citric in a way, so that's a very kind of interesting thing actually. It's really starting to know it, because Idaho 7, it's a hop that I have been getting more and more familiar with over the last kind of couple of months. So when you smell this beer and you take it in right away, you get some of those lovely, you do get a bit of the stronger passion fruit right enough, but you get a little bit of a kind of apricot-y, papaya, pineapple-y sort of thing. You get those softer tropical fruits coming out of it, but they do have just that little bit of citrusy zestiness to it, and that's kind of interesting. There's also a nice little bit of a juicy tangerine orange in there, which is the Mosaic, like I said. But really the fruitiness in this one is very, it comes across as smooth, a little bit sharp, and also quite juicy. So the Mosaic Idaho 7 blend that you get in here is really, really quite nice actually. As I say, Idaho 7, it's a hop that really is gaining in popularity at the moment, and I can see why. It's got some really, really nice aroma qualities and flavour qualities from what I've experienced so far too. So yeah, on the green side of the hops then, because we've talked about the fruits, I'd say that this one, it does have a degree of floral quality to it, but it's got some nice kind of grassy notes at the same time. I would say the green side of the hops really lean towards that grassy end of the spectrum. There's a teeny little bit of earthiness in there as well, which comes from the Mosaic. The Mosaic does have a few earthy characteristics to it, which is quite nice. You do pick that up in the aroma, but I mean otherwise it strikes me as a very, generally this beer strikes me as a very juicy, slightly sharp and very smooth IPA actually. So yeah, there's a wee touch of a sort of farmhousey vibe to this one. So let's kind of focus on the malty and yeasty side of this beer then. So yeah, like I say, there is a degree of that sort of woody, herbal, vegetal-y kind of thing that you'll get from certain yeast strains that you'll find over in America. You know, the London fog yeasts tend to be a little bit kind of smoother and creamier actually. I'm not sure exactly what yeast is in this one. I would suspect that going from the aroma it might be one of the Vermont strains, because there are a few elements in this beer that really remind me of that sort of farmhousey vibe that you get from the Alchemist beers. As I said before, Treehouse tend to be more oaty and creamy, and Trillium in my mind are a little bit more wheaty and bitey. This one really gives off more of a slightly farmhousey vibe in the aroma. So yeah, that's a kind of interesting one. The other thing it could be, of course, is there could be a bit of Kveik yeast in there, which is the Norwegian farmhouse yeasts. That might be in there, because some of the fruity notes, and the Kveik yeasts can give you some of these fruity notes there, so there might be some of that going on. Interesting to know, but yeah, that's really interesting. But on the malty side of things, you've got a nice sort of bready, yeasty type base to this one's definitely a white bread rather than anything else. You can pick out a little bit of an oaty creaminess to this one. There's maybe a little bit of a biscuity note, but to me it's kind of a dusty, farmhousey type yeasty base that this beer has. So that's an interesting point about this one. To me, if I was blind smelling this, I could see myself saying that this was actually a Kveik IPA. So that's a really interesting point to make about this beer. I didn't quite expect that from it, so we'll need to see how that turns out in the flavour, but it definitely has a little bit more of that sort of farmhousey vibe to it in my mind. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Chelate, an 8% double IPA coming in from Gamma Brewing Company in Gurløse to the north of Copenhagen in Denmark. I believe the first Gamma release through Systembolaget here in Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. That's really nice. And you know, I wouldn't expect anything else of Gamma Brewing Company. I think I've reviewed about 10 or so of their beers now, and they never disappoint. These guys are very, very good at what they're doing. I've been saying in a couple of the other videos that it would be nice to see them have a go at a few different styles, but the last video, as I said, that I did was the Fervent Fervor, and that was a big, you know, 12% Imperial Stout, so that's at completely the other end of the spectrum from this kind of beer. But they really are very, very good at these hazy New Englands. I mean, if you compare this to the likes of the Tree Houses and the Trilliums and stuff like that, and I've tried both of those, and I've tried a number of the very good breweries from Chicago, like Hop Butcher and things, and to me, you know, the Gamma Brewing beers are as good as these. You know, they really are. They really know what they're doing, and it shows you the standard of European brewing these days. We've got breweries here in Sweden that do the same, like Dugges, Stigbergets, Apex Brewing. You know, you've got in Brewski, actually here in Skåne, are doing beers of the same standard as well. Over in Denmark, you've got Gamma, you've got Dry and Bitter. Amar are very capable in this style as well. Toul, Mikkeller. You know, it's and in Norway you've got Lervig and Amundsen who are doing these kind of things too. So it really shows you the quality of the brewing here in Scandinavia. And you know, back home in Scotland, there's breweries like that. Overtone, Germany, you've got Frau Gruber and things. The quality of beer that we're getting over here in Europe, it really would stand up to the things you're getting over in America, actually, which is great. But this is another solid beer from Gamma Brewing Company, so thumbs up to them on this. And I will say too, I think we're getting this one just at a very good point in time, because it really, the thing I've always said about these New England hazy IPAs is that they need a little bit of time to kind of mellow out. If you drink them too fresh, they always just taste green. But if you give them 2-3 weeks in the can, then they just mellow out nicely and you get the creaminess and the juiciness just in its prime condition. And obviously with this coming from Denmark, it'll have been brought over to Sweden, it'll have sat in the warehouse for maybe a week or so, and it's really just mellowed out very nicely, I think. So yeah, if you get a can of this, maybe give it 2 weeks or so in the can before you actually drink it, and then I think you'll get it in very good condition. Because it's really very nice at the moment. So yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. The interesting thing is, I'd say that sort of farmhousey vibe that I was getting from this beer doesn't come out that much in the flavour actually. That's more of an aroma thing. This one really is quite different. So, middle of your palate, you can feel a nice sort of wheaty base to the beer. But it's not too, it's quite a smooth wheat that's in this. It's not one of the more bitey wheats that I've come across before. If you move further forward on the palate, you've got a nice bit of a kind of oaty creaminess to this beer. You've got a little bit of a biscuity sweetness. If you go to the very centre of your palate, you will pick up a little bit of that kind of biscuity sweetness in there as well. But I'm wondering, with the smoothness of the wheat and the oatiness that's in here, it does definitely have a little bit of that more kind of fluffy, farmhousey type vibe to it. So I'd be really very curious to know what yeast strain they've used in this, because it doesn't quite have the woody, vegetally, herbally type flavours that you might expect. It really comes across as more smooth, but there is just something a little bit different about this one. It just feels a little bit more kind of fluffy compared to some of the other New England hazy type IPAs that I've had recently. But you know, it is a very, very good beer, and with my experiences of Gamma, I wouldn't expect anything less from these guys, to be quite frank. If you go to the front corners of the palate and then move in a little bit, you will get a few sort of woody undertones to the beer. So that again is making me wonder, maybe this is a mixed yeast or something that's in here, like a little bit of Kvike yeast and maybe a little bit of London Fog or something. But yeah, very nice. So yeah, malt base, really is nice. At the back of the palate you do get a bit of a wheaty bite, kind of pushes its way out of this one, and you do get a little bit of a crispness to it as well. I think it said there was carapils in this one, and that is a bit of a trend in Scandinavia. A lot of breweries are putting a little bit of Pilsner malt in these beers just to make them a little bit crisp, and you can really feel that towards the back of your palate in this beer. On the hoppy side of things though, back corners of the palate there is a nice little bit of earthiness there. That'll be the mosaic that's giving you that, but as you move further forward along the sides of the palate you start to get more and more of a kind of floral aromatic note out of the beer. It's got a lovely kind of spicy quality to it, this one, and both of the hops in this, I think Idaho 7's about 12% alpha acid if I remember correctly, but Mosaic can be around 14%. I think Mosaic's a little bit heavier in that regard, so you do get a good little bit of a kind of floral spicy thing out of this, and as you go round the front curve of the palate this beer's got a lovely lighter grassiness, but you can still feel a little touch of spiciness to it, and then behind the front curve of the tongue that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer, and there's quite a bit going on in this one, I have to say. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, when you take this beer in, you get you really do get a little bit of sharpness from the tropical fruits in this one. As you go to the back of the palate there, you get a little bit of that slightly stronger passion fruity note. There's no real grapefruit or anything to this one, but then as you move further forward from that, you get mangoes, you get pineapple, you get a little bit of a kind of papaya type thing to this beer. Idaho 7's all about what they call stone fruit, and it's all of these tropically type fruits actually. So you really get a lot of that out of this beer, but then as you reach the very front part of your palate, you get a bit more of a kind of oily, orangey, tangerine thing, and that's the Mosaic starting to show its head there. And I think on the very tip of the tongue you get a little tiny touch of a blueberry quality, and that's one of these really subtle notes that you can get out of Mosaic, but there is something just there on the very tip of the tongue that makes me want to say there's a wee bit of blueberry coming out of this beer. So I mean, both of these hops, if you put another hop in here, I think you'd probably the beer that you would get wouldn't turn out as nicely. I think the way that this one's balanced with that sort of fluffy, more farmhousey type malt base, and I suspect the yeast is playing a role in that, but the way this one mixes together is really, really very nice. They've got this one spot on for me actually. The other IPAs that I've tried from these guys have been really, really very nice, and nothing wrong with them, but then when I try this one just ticks a few boxes for me. As we always say, beer is subjective, but some beers will strike you a bit more than others. I've always been a big fan of the big orangey IPAs, and Amarillo, Mosaic, Pacifica, Waiti, Mandarina Bavaria, Azaka, I guess as well. All of these big orangey hops have always just struck a chord with me. But I think the way they've got the orange and the tropical balanced in this one, it really just works, and this could well be my favourite IPA that I've had from them so far actually. I really like this one, so thumbs up to Gamma Brewing for this. And I guess I also quite like the more farmhousey vibe that this has, because I was a bit of a fan of those fake IPAs that were coming out, and this one really does have a sort of vibe of that. So if you like the fake IPAs, I think this is one of the ones from Gamma that's really going to strike a chord with you. So yeah, well done to Gamma. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer is more, it's quite mid-bodied. It's at the sort of top end of that mid-bodied category. The carbonation is very, very smooth. The mouthfeel, again, it's really quite thick and creamy, this one, and I think a lot of that's down to the yeast. Even that sort of carapils malt that's there in the middle of the palate. And I will say that the further you go into the aftertaste, the sweetness in the middle of the palate of this one builds a little bit. But even with that Pilsner malt, this beer to me does feel really quite thick. But at 8%, and when it's a New England IPA, you're going to get that, to be honest. But yeah, really smooth and thick New England IPA. There's an element of oiliness to it as well, which helps bring out some of the fruity notes. But as I say, I really like how that goes together. In terms of the hoppy bitterness and things, I think this is your standard sort of 30. This one's very, very smooth, 30 IBUs. Malt base, very thick, very smooth, quite fluffy, a little bit of sweetness there, as I said earlier. And with the fruits, it does have a degree of an oiliness to it. but it really is more kind of thick and juicy actually, and that really suits the whole vibe that you get from this beer. So like I said, I think this might be my favourite IPA that I've had from Gamma Brewing so far. It does, in some ways it actually reminds me of some of the Ale Farm ones that I had. I've not reviewed a beer from Ale Farm in quite a little while actually, so yeah, this has been a really interesting one to review, and nice to see this brewery starting to release through Sweden. Hopefully that continues, because then when I go over to Denmark I can pick up some of the more unusual ones and stuff like that. It means I don't have to go over so regular. It is a little bit expensive to go to Copenhagen, I have to say, but it's always pretty good fun, so double-edged sword, yeah. But yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful beer from Gamma Brewing Company. And you know, with my experiences of these guys, it's definitely not surprising. So let's leave it at that for this one. A lovely, quite thick and juicy, and it's very slightly oily New England IPA. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Gamma Brewing Company as well. We will definitely return to these guys at some point soon. You will see the other beer that they're releasing in the February, in the Småskaligt assortment. You will see that one reviewed in a few videos time, but it's been awesome to review this one, and I hope you've enjoyed my take on it. Let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. This one was the Chelate, 8% New England double IPA from Gamma Brewing Company in Gørløse, to the north of Copenhagen over in Denmark. Once again, thank you for watching my reviews, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out Gamma Brewing Company and you will enjoy some very, very nice New England IPAs. Copenhagen is also really worth a visit. Slanger, Skull, catch you guys very soon. Cheers.